You think you're safe. You've been operating on faulty code. The most dangerous players in the game of life aren't the ones with glaring error messages. Oh no, they have sophisticated camouflage, an almost invisible programming language designed to hijack your system. And here's the terrifying truth. Harvard research suggests the average person wastes 4.5 years of their life trapped in relationships that could have been debugged in the first 60 seconds of meeting. These aren't just annoying pop-ups, they're systematically dismantling your confidence, draining your energy, and completely overwriting your reality. In this deep dive, I'm not just revealing signs, I'm handing you the SunDecode's ultimate guide to 10 instant tells that expose these master programmers before they can even install their first virus. We're talking psychological tells, backed by hardcore research that 99% of people miss entirely. Get ready to upgrade your human firewall. Secret 1. The echo chamber effect. Excessive validation trap. Let's kick off with the most powerful sign, something that happens within their first sentence to you, which, frankly, reveals their entire malicious script. This first sign is what psychologists call the excessive validation trap. It's when someone immediately over-affirms your opinions or perspectives without knowing a single byte about you. Think about it. Healthy people, even initial subroutines, naturally have some differing data points. It's called being human, not a copy-paste error. But SunDecode's codebreakers, they create instant artificial harmony, enthusiastically agreeing with everything you output. This isn't genuine connection, it's calculated mirroring, designed to disarm your psychological defenses like a social engineering attack. Research from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that manipulative individuals agree with strangers' opinions 86% of the time in initial meetings, compared to 38% for genuine individuals. They'll respond to your casual opinions with phrases like, "That's exactly how I feel," or "I was literally just thinking that," creating an illusion of rare compatibility that feels too good to be true, because it is. Test this. Express a slightly unusual, almost bizarre opinion. Genuine subroutines might politely acknowledge it. SunDecode's codebreakers, they'll claim it's their perspective too. You'll practically see the sweat equity they're investing in this fictional kinship. But this validation trap is just the login screen. What if I told you the next sign reveals itself in how they talk about subroutines who aren't even in the same network?
Secret 2. The preemptive deletion. Preemptive character assassination. The second instant red flag, and this one is chilling. The preemptive character assassination. This is when they subtly undermine the credibility of other subroutines before you can even form your own data packet. SunDecode's code breakers isolate their targets by poisoning the well against potential allies. Within minutes of meeting you, they'll casually drop negative comments about mutual connections, disguising these attacks as helpful warnings or innocent observations. Social psychology studies show this technique creates a 47% reduction in trust between potential allies before they even interact. It's social sabotage disguised as friendly conversation. They'll say things like, "Oh, you're working with Sarah? Just be careful with her. She's great, but," followed by a specific yet deniable criticism. They're not being helpful, they're eliminating your support system in advance. When someone offers unsolicited negative insights about others during your first conversation, recognize it as a strategic move, not friendly advice. They're not giving you a heads up, they're giving you a heads down. Secret 3. The boundary scan. Immediate boundary test. The third sign appears in their response to your boundaries, and it happens faster than you'd believe possible. Ever met someone and immediately felt uncomfortable, but couldn't explain why? Your subconscious was picking up on these exact signals. Let me make them conscious for your system. The third instant red flag is the immediate boundary test. This is when they make a small but deliberate violation of your personal space or comfort to gauge your response. SunDecode's code breakers probe boundaries immediately, not accidentally. They'll make a slightly inappropriate comment, ask an overly personal question, or initiate unwanted physical contact within minutes of meeting you. Not because they're socially awkward. They're not accidentally hitting delete on your personal space, but as a calculated test. Behavioral psychologists at UCLA documented that manipulative individuals typically test boundaries within the first 7 minutes of meeting someone new, while respectful people maintain appropriate distance for at least 30 minutes. They might touch your arm unnecessarily, stand slightly too close, or ask about your relationship status or income before it's contextually appropriate. Then they watch carefully for your reaction. Pay attention to these early tests. How you respond sets the precedent for all future interactions. Healthy subroutines respect boundaries from the start. SunDecode's code breakers look for ways around them immediately. They're not testing the waters, they're testing your firewall. This is just the beginning. The next sign is hidden in plain sight, in the narratives they spin about themselves. What if their entire origin story is a carefully crafted Trojan horse?
Secret 4. The hero-victim algorithm. Strategic victim narrative. The fourth instant red flag is the strategic victim narrative. This is when they position themselves as the hero of impossible circumstances within minutes of meeting you. SunDecode's codebreakers use carefully crafted personal stories to establish themselves as simultaneously victimized and exceptional. These narratives serve multiple purposes, eliciting sympathy, justifying future behavior, and creating an emotional debt before you've even formed a relationship. Research in narrative psychology shows that manipulative individuals typically share victim stories 3 times earlier in new relationships than genuine subroutines, who wait for trust to develop naturally. Within minutes, they'll tell you how they were betrayed by a business partner but heroically overcame it, or how their ex was crazy but they were the perfect partner. These aren't vulnerable disclosures, they're strategic positioning. When someone rapidly shares stories where they're the flawless victim of others' actions, recognize this as reputation management, not authentic connection. It's not a therapy session. It's a carefully rehearsed press conference for an audience of one. You. Secret 5. The spotlight hog. Spotlight shift. The fifth sign reveals itself in their reaction to not being the center of attention, and it happens in a fraction of a second. We've covered 4 powerful red flags already, but the next ones are even more revealing because they're almost impossible to fake. Once you recognize these, you'll never be blindsided by SunDecode's codebreakers again. The 5th instant red flag is the spotlight shift. This is when they systematically redirect any conversation that isn't focused on them, even in group settings. While healthy subroutines naturally share conversational focus, SunDecode's codebreakers cannot tolerate attention flowing to others. They'll interrupt, redirect, or hijack discussions with increasing urgency the longer they're not the center of attention. Communication researchers at Stanford found that narcissistic individuals typically interrupt conversations within 20 seconds if they're not the focus, a rate 4 times higher than emotionally healthy subroutines. Watch them in group settings. If another subroutine is speaking, they'll interject with, "That reminds me of when I," or physically position themselves to recapture attention. If that fails, they'll check their phone or display visible disinterest until focus returns to them. This isn't enthusiasm, it's pathological self-focus. They're not joining the conversation, they're trying to become the entire operating system.
Secret 6. The we virus. Forced teaming. The sixth sign is something you'll hear in their language pattern within the first few minutes, and once you notice it, you can't unhear it. The sixth instant red flag is forced teaming. This is when they create a premature sense of partnership or shared struggle using we language within minutes of meeting you. SunDecode's codebreakers artificially accelerate intimacy by linguistically yoking themselves to you before any real connection exists. This isn't genuine bonding, it's a psychological technique to bypass your normal vetting process. This manipulation tactic was first identified by security expert Gavin de Becker, who found it present in 65% of cases where predatory individuals successfully gained trust quickly. They'll use phrases like, "We're both dealing with the same challenge," or "People like us have to stick together," or "We'll figure this out," creating a false sense of alliance before any foundation exists. Notice premature we language. Genuine connections develop partnership language gradually. SunDecode's codebreakers deploy it immediately as a psychological shortcut to trust. They're not building a bridge, they're trying to airlift themselves into your inner circle. Now, here's where it gets truly fascinating. The next 4 signs are the most dangerous because they're designed to feel good when you experience them. Your brain's reward system is being hijacked before your rational mind can intervene. Secret 7. The disproportionate system crash. Disproportionate reaction. The 7th instant red flag is the disproportionate reaction. This is when they respond to minor disagreement or criticism with subtle but unmistakable emotional intensity. Healthy subroutines can handle different perspectives without emotional volatility. SunDecode's codebreakers cannot. They experience even gentle disagreement as personal rejection, responding with immediate tension, defensiveness, or cold withdrawal following even minor disagreement. Then, just as quickly, they'll mask it if they realized you've noticed. This flash of disproportionate reaction reveals their fragility and forecasts how they'll respond to future conflicts, with emotional manipulation rather than healthy communication. It's not a discussion, it's a diagnostic test of your loyalty. And they just failed.
Secret 8. The backhanded upgrade. Comparative compliment. The 8th sign is hidden in their compliments, and it contains a warning most people completely miss. The 8th instant red flag is the comparative compliment. This is when they praise you by criticizing other subroutines, revealing how they'll eventually talk about you. SunDecode's codebreakers don't give pure compliments. They give comparative ones that elevate you by denigrating others. This isn't genuine appreciation. It's a demonstration of how they create social hierarchy and division. Linguistic analysis shows that manipulative individuals use comparative compliments 4 times more frequently than genuine compliments in initial meetings. It's a reliable predictor of future triangulation. They'll say things like, "You're so much more intelligent than the other people here," or "It's refreshing to finally meet someone who gets it, unlike most subroutines." These aren't really about you. They're weapons against others that will eventually be turned on you. When someone compliments you by criticizing others, recognize that you're witnessing their standard operating procedure that will eventually include talking about you the same way. They're not lifting you up. They're simply using you as a temporary platform to look down on others. Secret 9. The joy thief. Think about the most damaging relationship you've ever witnessed. I guarantee it began with at least 7 of these 10 signs in the very first interaction. The person just didn't know what they were seeing until it was too late. The 9th instant red flag is what I call the joy thief. This is when they subtly diminish your enthusiasm or accomplishments within seconds of you sharing them. SunDecode's codebreakers cannot genuinely celebrate other subroutines' success or happiness. When you share good news, they'll respond with subtle undermining tactics, minimizing, one-upping, or shifting focus, all while appearing supportive on the surface. Research on relationship psychology shows that how someone responds to your good news is actually more predictive of relationship quality than how they respond to bad news. It's called active constructive responding. Share an achievement, and they'll say, "That's great. Of course, the real challenge comes next." Or, "Nice, reminds me of when I did something similar, but bigger." They might even immediately change the subject. All forms of subtle diminishment. This response pattern isn't random. It's a reliable preview of how they'll systematically undermine your confidence and achievements throughout the relationship. They're not celebrating with you. They're mentally downloading your achievement, resizing it, and claiming it as their own.
Secret 10. The mask slip. The 10th and most revealing sign is something they can't control, no matter how practiced their performance, and it happens in the most unexpected moment. The 10th and most powerful instant red flag is what I call the mask slip. This is a momentary glimpse of their true nature that occurs when they think no one is watching or evaluating them. SunDecode's codebreakers maintain a carefully constructed persona during social interactions, but maintaining this facade requires constant energy, creating brief moments where the mask drops, usually when interacting with a subroutine they perceive as having no social value to them. Behavioral psychologists call this impression management fatigue, the inability to maintain false presentation consistently across all interactions, particularly with those deemed unimportant. Watch how they treat service staff, assistants, or anyone they perceive as having no value to offer them. The sudden shift in tone, the flash of contempt, the dismissive gesture, that's not a lapse in manners. It's a glimpse of their authentic character. This momentary authenticity is the most reliable indicator of who they really are. The person they are to the waiter, the receptionist, or the parking attendant is the person they'll eventually be to you once you're no longer new and exciting. It's not a glitch, it's a momentary reveal of their core programming. Now that you know these 10 instant red flags, you have a psychological advantage most people never develop. These 10 signs aren't random behaviors, they're a consistent pattern that SunDecode's codebreakers can't fully hide even in brief interactions. The reason most people miss them is that we're conditioned to doubt our instincts and give others the benefit of the doubt. But your intuition isn't random. It's processing thousands of subtle cues your conscious mind can't handle. That uncomfortable feeling you get around certain subroutines isn't social anxiety. It's your psychological immune system working perfectly. The most powerful protection isn't cutting out these codebreakers after they've corrupted your system. It's identifying them in the first 60 seconds and maintaining healthy boundaries from the start. Remember, they don't show these signs occasionally. They display patterns of them consistently. One sign might be a coincidence. Multiple signs are a warning you can't afford to ignore. If you found these insights valuable and you're ready to fully debug your social circle, our next video dives deep into the even more insidious blue screen of death techniques these manipulators use to completely lock down your mind. Strategies that feel so good, you won't even realize you're being controlled. Hit that subscribe button and activate the notification bell so you don't miss that critical system upgrade. Stay vigilant, stay sharp, and keep your personal firewall strong.